Some minds ask questions others avoid. Some people feel too much, think too much, and somehow it makes them stand out in ways that feel lonely. Ever notice how speaking truth in a room full of masks can make things awkward? Or how thinking too much can make you feel like you don't belong? What if being smart isn't always an advantage in social groups? What if it creates silence instead of connection? There's a strange tension between intelligence and fitting in, and the more you see it, the harder it is to unsee. Stay with this thought. It might explain everything. Some people scare others without trying. They don't raise their voice. They don't act out. They don't show anger. But still, something about them makes others nervous. These people are often calm, clear, and honest. They are not dangerous in the way most think of danger. Their danger comes from something else. Their mind, their thoughts, and the way they don't follow the usual rules. Many intelligent men are seen as a threat, not because they want power or control, but because they don't hide who they are. They say what they think. They ask hard questions. They don't pretend to fit in. This can make people feel uncomfortable. Most people feel safe when they know what to expect. They like patterns. They like things to be simple, to follow the same path every time. When someone breaks that pattern, even by just being honest or thinking in a new way, it causes fear. Not always loud fear. Sometimes it's quiet. A shift in tone, a cold look, a sudden silence in the room. This fear does not come from real danger. It comes from unpredictability. When someone cannot be easily understood, labeled, or controlled, others begin to feel unsafe. They ask, "Why is he different?" Or, "Why doesn't he play along?" But what they are really asking is, "Why can't I read him?" That question makes people uneasy, and that unease quickly becomes mistrust. Society teaches people to be predictable. Follow the rules, say the right thing, don't make others uncomfortable. Intelligent men often see the cracks in those rules. They see the truth behind polite smiles and small talk. And sometimes they stop playing the game. They stop pretending. And when they do that, they become hard to manage. People often think safety means everything staying the same. But real safety doesn't come from pretending. It comes from trust, from truth. Still, when someone walks through life without wearing a mask, it can feel strange to those who are used to hiding. Their honesty becomes too much. Their mind moves in directions others don't expect. And that scares people. When someone can't be bought, praised, or shamed into silence, they stand outside the usual system. And anything outside the system feels like a threat to those inside it. Not because that person will do harm, but because they remind others that freedom is possible. They remind others that control is not the same as peace. That makes them dangerous, not through violence, but through clarity. Through being fully awake in a world that often asks people to sleepwalk. And so, intelligent men become hard to place. Too honest for small talk, too curious for comfort, too aware to pretend. Not because they want to cause problems, but because they can't ignore what others pretend not to see. In today's world, many relationships are built on comfort, not truth. People want peace, ease, and simple answers. They want to feel good, even if it means pretending. But not everyone can live that way. Some men, especially those who think deeply and see through things, struggle with this. They don't enjoy surface-level talk. They don't want to perform a role or pretend to be someone they're not. And because of that, they often don't fit in. These men ask hard questions. They want real connection, not a trade of attention for safety or praise for silence. They don't just want comfort. They want something real. But when they ask for honesty, many people feel uncomfortable. Because honesty breaks illusions. And illusions are what many relationships are built on. In some relationships, love becomes a deal. I'll give you this if you give me that. It's quiet, sometimes unspoken, but still there. If a man sees this and speaks up, he's seen as difficult. If he asks, "Is this real love, or are we just meeting each other's needs?" he's often met with silence, anger, or fear. People don't like having their comfort questioned. They would rather keep the performance going than face what's underneath. For men who see the game and refuse to play it, life can be lonely. They are not interested in acting like the perfect partner if it means lying. They don't want to be controlled, and they don't want to control others. They want freedom, but freedom scares people. Because someone who can't be controlled also can't be predicted. And people fear what they can't predict. These men are not cold or unfeeling. They are the opposite. They feel too much. They think too much. And they see things others avoid. They can see when someone is smiling but empty. They can sense when love is just performance. And they refuse to lie to themselves just to keep the peace. This honesty is rare, and rare things are often not welcomed. These men don't fit into the stories people want to believe. They ask too much. They care too much. And their refusal to pretend makes them seem dangerous. Not because they harm others, but because they show a different way to live. A way without masks. A way without control. Many people say they want honesty, but when it shows up, they push it away. Especially in relationships, where truth can be hard to face. Intelligent men who speak that truth often find themselves alone, not because they are wrong, but because they no longer agree to play a part in a script that feels fake. They're not hard to love. They just need love that isn't based on illusion. And in a world full of comfort over truth, that kind of love is hard to find. Søren Kierkegaard once said, "The crowd is untruth." He didn't mean that every person in a group is a liar. He meant that when people gather as a crowd, they stop thinking for themselves. They stop asking hard questions. They follow what others are doing, even if it feels wrong. The crowd gives people a place to hide. It lets them avoid responsibility. If something goes wrong, they can say, "Everyone else did it too." But when no one stands alone, the truth gets lost. Most people want to fit in. They want to be accepted. So they copy what others think and do. They follow the group, even when it feels empty. It's safer that way. It's easier. But some men refuse that path. They ask, what if the crowd is wrong? They want meaning that comes from inside, not from approval. They are not trying to be different just to stand out. They are trying to be honest. And that honesty makes them dangerous in the eyes of the group. A man who thinks for himself cannot be used. He cannot be shaped by fear or praise. He chooses his values, not the ones handed to him. And when he speaks, he doesn't repeat what's popular. He speaks from a place of knowing. This is rare. Most people live by habits and outside pressure. They want rules and rewards. But the man who walks his own path threatens those systems. Not by force, but by truth. Systems built on control fear the person who cannot be controlled. Schools want obedience, not curiosity. Jobs want workers, not thinkers. Many parts of society reward those who play the part well, even if it's fake. But the authentic man will not perform. He will not say what others want to hear if it means lying. That refusal shakes the system, because one honest man shows others that it's possible to say no, to choose a different path. And if enough people do that, the system loses its power. When someone breaks free from group thinking, he starts to see clearly. He notices how often people speak without knowing, how often they agree just to avoid trouble. He sees how fear of standing out leads to quiet lives full of regret, and he refuses to live that way. But this freedom often comes at a cost. He may be ignored, mocked, or pushed aside, because the crowd protects itself. It attacks what it doesn't understand, and it fears the one who walks alone. Still, the man who chooses truth over comfort cannot turn back. He knows too much. He has seen what hiding does to the soul. There is a moment when a man stops trying to be charming and starts being conscious. It doesn't happen all at once. It begins slowly. He starts to notice the games people play, the roles they act out, the lies they tell to be liked. He used to do the same. He used to care about being liked, being accepted, being seen as good. But something changes. He starts to see the cost of that kind of life. It's heavy, it's fake, and it's not worth it. When a man becomes conscious, he starts to ask real questions. Not the ones that make others happy, but the ones that lead to truth. He no longer wants to impress others. He wants to understand. He wants to live without pretending. And when he stops needing to be liked, he becomes free in a way that few understand. That freedom shows in how he speaks, how he walks, how he looks at the world. He is no longer a product of others' approval. This change makes him hard to control. The systems that run on fear, shame, and reward lose their grip. He can't be guilted into silence. He can't be flattered into agreeing. He sees through manipulation. And this makes him dangerous, not because he harms others, but because he can't be shaped by lies. He sees clearly, and he refuses to be blind again. Systems that depend on people staying asleep, staying busy, staying quiet, don't know what to do with a man who is awake. He doesn't need their praise. He doesn't want their rewards. He is not trying to fit in. And that scares them, because one conscious man shows others that they can break free too. He becomes a mirror. He shows people who they are and who they could be if they stopped pretending. This kind of man loses some things. He may lose fake friends. He may be left out of groups. Some people may call him cold or distant, but he knows the truth. He hasn't become less kind. He has become more honest. He doesn't play social games anymore. He doesn't offer fake smiles. He offers something harder and more real: presence, truth, and strength. Being conscious means facing things most people run from. It means holding yourself to your own standard, even when no one is watching. It means saying no when others expect a yes. And it means accepting that some people will not understand you. But it also means you are free. You no longer need to shape yourself to fit small spaces. You no longer need to be everything for everyone. You are finally yourself. The world may not celebrate this. In fact, it may reject it. But for the man who has awakened, that no longer matters. Approval is no longer the goal. Truth is. In modern dating, many people are not looking for love. They are looking for advantage. They are looking for comfort, control, and a way to feel safe without being seen. This has created a strange kind of economy, where attention is traded, emotions are tested, and games are played. Many relationships are built on confusion, not clarity. They depend on mixed signals, half-truths, and performance. But when a person shows up whole, clear, calm, and honest, it breaks the game. Wholeness is quiet, but it speaks loud. It doesn't need to chase or impress. It doesn't play hard to get. It doesn't use silence as punishment. A whole person doesn't create drama to feel wanted. They don't need to be useful to be loved. They just need to be real. And that kind of presence feels strange in a world used to masks and guessing. Many people are not ready for that kind of honesty. When someone shows up without pretending, it exposes the performance in others. It brings discomfort, not because the person is unkind, but because they are clear. They don't chase, they don't beg, they don't give more to prove their worth. They offer presence. That's it. And for someone who is used to emotional games, that feels like a threat. The truth is, emotional games give people a sense of control. They allow people to feel powerful without being vulnerable. If I can keep you guessing, I feel safe. If I can keep you needing me, I feel wanted. But love based on control is not love. It's survival. And when someone shows up who doesn't need the game, who doesn't respond to pressure or guilt, it throws everything off balance. A man who is whole cannot be used. He cannot be pulled in with tricks or pushed away with fear. He doesn't ask, "What do I need to do to keep her?" He asks, "Is this real or not?" And that question is too sharp for many, because it forces an answer. It ends the game. This is why so many real people feel alone. They aren't too much. They're just clear. And in a world where love is often traded like a deal, that clarity is seen as a problem. But it's not a problem. It's just rare. When someone doesn't need to be useful to be loved, they become hard to control. And people fear what they can't control. So they reject it. Or they call it boring. Or they say, "You're too serious," because they don't want to face the truth, that what they called love was really just a need, a habit, or a role. Being real in modern dating means risking being misunderstood. But for those who are tired of confusion, tired of masks, tired of running in circles, it's the only thing that makes sense. Søren Kierkegaard spoke of the leap of faith as a choice to believe in something higher without proof, even when everything around you feels uncertain. But this leap is not just about belief in God. It's also about living with truth, even when it costs you comfort. It's about choosing to be real, even when it means walking alone. Most people stay in the roles expected of them because it feels safe. They smile when they want to speak. They agree when they want to walk away. But some people can no longer do that. Something inside them refuses. When someone chooses truth over comfort, they stop fitting in. They stop saying what others want to hear. They stop dressing their words in softness just to be liked. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. And that clarity unsettles people, because most are used to hiding, most are used to avoiding, and when someone shows up with nothing to hide, they don't know how to respond. Walking alone is not about pride. It's about not being able to lie to yourself anymore. You see the cost of pretending. You feel the weight of trying to be someone you're not. And you make a quiet choice to walk your own path, even if no one else understands it. This path is not loud, it's not dramatic, it's steady, quiet, and strong, but it's also lonely. Because those who walk it often lose the comfort of being accepted by the group. There is a price for not playing along. When you stop following the rules of polite silence, you lose invitations. When you speak with precision instead of flattery, you lose approval. When you act with purpose instead of pleasing others, you stand out. And standing out always comes with a cost. But it also comes with freedom. The freedom to know you are not pretending. The freedom to know your yes means yes, and your no means no. Precision in words and actions makes people nervous, because it removes the space for guessing. It leaves no room for hiding behind confusion. Most people use soft language to protect themselves. They leave doors half open. They speak in circles. But when someone speaks with clear intention, it demands attention. It holds weight, and it forces others to face themselves. Those who walk alone are often not trying to be different. They are simply not willing to trade truth for peace. They are not cold. They are clear. They are not distant. They are honest. And because they do not perform, they are often misunderstood. But they are not lost. They have made their leap. And even in the silence, they walk with meaning. There is a strange tension in wanting closeness, but refusing to fake it. Some people long for real connection, but they are not willing to act just to get it. They won't perform. They won't pretend. They would rather be alone than be loved for who they are not. This creates a quiet struggle. The heart wants to be seen, but the soul refuses to be shaped for approval. This is the paradox of intimacy and integrity. Many people confuse being chosen with being truly met. To be chosen can mean someone likes the version of you that fits their needs. But to be met means someone sees you as you are and stays. That kind of meeting is rare. It takes presence, it takes stillness, and it can't be forced. A man who values integrity cannot act to be picked. He cannot twist his truth to be more likable. If he speaks, it is honest. If he stays, it is real. And if the connection doesn't come, he lets it go. This kind of man is often called distant. But he's not distant, he's stable. He doesn't chase emotional highs. He doesn't start fires just to feel something. He brings peace, not noise. And for people who are used to chaos, that peace can feel like silence. When someone is addicted to drama, alignment feels cold. When someone is used to confusion, clarity feels sharp. They say, "You don't care," when in truth, he cares enough not to lie. Some people want love that feels like a storm, loud, messy, full of extremes. But real connection is often quiet. It doesn't pull, it doesn't push, it stands still and waits. That stillness can be scary. It offers no distractions, it shows what's real, and not everyone is ready for that. So when they meet someone who holds steady, they may leave, not because he lacks warmth, but because they can't sit in calm. The man who values both closeness and truth walks a hard road. He does not close his heart. He stays open, but he stays grounded too. He listens, but he does not beg. He feels, but he does not perform. And this balance makes him hard to understand. He may be called too much or too quiet, but really, he is just not willing to give up his center to be chosen. In a world that often rewards noise, this kind of still presence is rare. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't chase it either. It invites truth. And not everyone wants that invitation. Because real intimacy asks for honesty. It asks for stillness. And it asks people to stop running. To long for connection and still keep your integrity is not weakness. It is strength. It means you want to be seen, but not at the cost of your truth. It means you are willing to walk alone rather than lose yourself just to feel close. Many modern men are disappearing, not in body, but in spirit. They are fading slowly, quietly, as they try to become what the world finds easy to accept. They shape themselves to fit in. They soften their words, shrink their presence, and hide their truth, just to avoid being judged. They smile when they feel empty. They agree when they want to speak. Over time, they forget who they are. This is not because they are weak, but because they are tired of trying to be palatable. The world often teaches men that being liked is more important than being honest. From a young age, many are told to be strong, but not too strong, kind, but not too bold, calm, but not silent. The message is clear: be safe, be pleasant, don't make people uncomfortable. And so, many men begin to perform. They stop saying what they really mean. They start choosing peace over truth. But this peace is not real. It's quiet suffering. It's a slow death of the self. When a man becomes what others want, he may be praised. He may be welcomed. But inside, something breaks. Because every time he says yes when he means no, he loses a part of himself. Every time he puts others above his own voice, he grows more invisible. Not to others, but to himself. He becomes a stranger in his own life. And this kind of life is heavy. It looks fine from the outside, but it feels hollow inside. There comes a moment when a man must choose. He can keep betraying himself to meet the world's expectations, or he can betray what the world expects and finally return to who he is. This choice is not easy. It often means being misunderstood. It may mean being rejected, but it also means being real, being whole, being free from the weight of constant pretending. The spiritual cost of people-pleasing is hard to see at first. It hides behind politeness. It hides behind smiles. But over time, it eats away at the soul. A man who lives only to be liked forgets how to stand. He forgets how to speak with truth. And he forgets how it feels to be alive. The ones who wake up from this know the pain of performance. They know the silence that comes from not being heard. But they also know that being honest, even if it means being alone, is worth it. They begin to rebuild themselves, slowly, quietly, without apology. They stop asking who they need to be, and they start asking who they really are. This return to self is not loud. It doesn't ask for attention, but it changes everything. Because when a man stops disappearing, he starts living. Not for others, not for approval, but for the truth that never left him, even when he did. There comes a time when a man stops asking who he should be and starts living from who he already is. This is the shift from chasing identity to embodying it. It's no longer about being seen a certain way or proving your worth. It's about standing still in your truth, even when no one claps. Søren Kierkegaard called this man the Knight of Faith, a person who lives with quiet strength, not because the world agrees, but because he is loyal to what is real inside him. This way of living is rare, because it requires giving up the need to be understood. It means no longer bending to fit in, no longer wearing masks to be accepted. It means walking through the world with your own rhythm, your own voice, and not apologizing for it. Most people are still searching for identity through the eyes of others. They measure themselves by attention, by approval, by comparison. But the man who lives from inner truth has stopped measuring. He has made peace with being whole, even if it makes him look strange. Wholeness is quiet, but powerful. It brings a calm presence that others can feel, even if they don't understand it. And because it cannot be controlled or manipulated, some find it uncomfortable. People often fear what they cannot shape. They say things like, "You've changed," or "You're distant," not realizing that what they're really feeling is the weight of someone who no longer needs to be needed. Solitude becomes sacred in this path, not as loneliness, but as a return to self. Time alone becomes space to listen, to reset, and to remember. The man who respects himself no longer begs to be seen. He no longer sacrifices truth for connection. His self-respect shows in his posture, in his words, in the way he chooses where to give his time. He knows not everything deserves his energy. He knows his value without needing anyone to confirm it. This kind of man is not loud. He doesn't need to explain himself. He lives with quiet trust in what he knows. He doesn't chase power or approval. He doesn't try to fix how others see him. He simply stands. And in that standing, there is strength that cannot be taken. Becoming the Knight of Faith is not about being perfect. It's about being true. True when it's easy. True when it's hard. It's about choosing your inner voice over the noise outside. It's about saying no when it costs you, and saying yes when no one understands. In a world full of noise, distraction, and masks, this kind of man is rare, but he is needed. Not to lead others, not to impress, but to remind us all of what it means to live with honesty, with stillness, and with soul. He is proof that you don't have to chase meaning. You can become it.